A culmination of events made me think of this journal, this particular project. Obviously, my job, my career, I see people's lives change. In one instant, 1 second, one decision, instantly change. And the time is now.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Sharing Passion and Purpose podcast. My name is Nancy Moore, and I am the host of this weekly podcast that provides career and creative inspiration to help you build a passionate and purpose-filled life. You'll hear from guests that will help you tap into your creative potential, pursue a career with passion, and build on your biggest and best resource, yourself. I'm excited to have you join this conversation. I'm so happy you're here. Let's get started. Hi, everybody. So I am really excited to introduce you to my next guest. Her name is Casie Brim, and I think what she has created is perfect for February and for couples. It's a couples journal, and she and I had a conversation about her background because, interestingly, she enjoys writing, but her day job is as a trauma nurse. And so we talk about her and how she found her calling to be a trauma nurse and all of the accolades that have come with it, but it's still on her heart to write a book. And so she has written this couples journal, and she also kind of shares her story about she and her husband and doing the journal and what came from that. But she and her husband have 3 kids, and they all helped in this journal. So she also shares how her girls got involved in creating this journal, and it's truly an excellent resource for any couple. And it's sure to inspire deeper connections and just really be a great way to express your love, and also having conversations about the journal entries. And so she'll talk a little bit about that and her experience. So I look forward to having you hear this conversation with Casie Brim. I hope you enjoy. Before we get started, I'd like to take a minute to thank my sponsor, Brittany McCoy, founder of B. McCoy Ministries. I had the opportunity to attend one of her incredible faith-filled retreats where every detail was carefully curated to make all of the women who attended feel special. I certainly did. B. McCoy Ministries creates transformative events that encourages authenticity for faith-driven leaders to overcome limitations and honor their unique calling. If you are ready to grow your faith more in 2025, check out bmccoyministries.com online for more information. You can also find her on Instagram as kingdom.change.agent. Now, on to the episode. Okay, everybody, I am talking with Casie Brim today, who is the author of Your Turn, A Journal to Create with Your Beloved. And I'm so happy to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Good. We have a lot of fun things to talk about. You are an interesting person.
Thank you.
You have written a journal, but you are actually, like by trade, a trauma nurse.
Yes.
And so anyway, I would love for people to hear a little bit about your background.
Okay.
And then we'll get into the journal and what you're doing now.
Well, hard to know where to start that story. In high school, actually, is when I figured out I wanted to be a nurse. And it was this kind of a serendipitous moment. The math class that I was in as a junior had mostly seniors with me, and I was just talking about, they were talking about graduating, so I was talking with them. And one of my classmates said, well, she's about to graduate from Votech with her nurse assistant. So I was like, oh my gosh, what is that? Tell me all about it. Because I wanted to be a nurse at that time, but I thought that'd be perfect to see if I actually wanted to do it before I started my college courses. So she told me about the VOTEC program. Well, this was many years ago, and I went to the Tulsa World Help Wanted just to see what kind of jobs were out there, and I kept finding will train and certify. So I started cold calling places and was like, is this the same certification you get from VOTEC? And they said yes. So it was 2 weeks at these various locations that would train. So I happened to find one. I made a lot of calls, but it was a nursing home in Owasso, and I lived in Broken Arrow. And they agreed to hire me. They agreed to work around my high school schedule. And I got trained and certified during my Christmas break of junior year. I started working. I worked a few days a week after high school. The 3 to 11 shift, I would leave around 10 because 11 was just too hard to go to school 5 days a week. And then when I turned 18, I was able to work at Hillcrest and made a lot of connections there and went to OU. And my first job out of OU was at St. John Medical Center in an SICU, surgical ICU. And it doesn't exist anymore, but it was awesome because it was all the open heart surgeries, it was all the traumas, it was all the big surgeries, and all the neuro patients all combined. And the nurses there were fabulous. I love them all. I stay in contact with most of them. They have so many years of experience, and they really helped guide me. The unit split as more ICU beds were needed. SI split into CVICU and then neurotrauma surgical ICU, and I became the educator of the neurotrauma surgical ICU. So OU at that time, this was a few years into my career, OU at that time had a 1-year degree program for a master's in education with a specialty in nursing. So I was like, I could do that, get my master's in education, be the educator, and, climb the clinical ladder, make more money, et cetera, et cetera. So I did that, loved being the educator, thought about becoming a nurse practitioner, but what I didn't want to do is be just a doctor's assistant, if that makes sense. I didn't want to be a scribe. I wanted to be an active provider. Well, again, at the same time, the residents that work at St. John, they had their rules changed where they couldn't work as many hours, but the provider hours were still required. So kind of serendipitously again, they needed more help on the trauma team. So I got a postmaster's certificate as an acute care nurse practitioner and joined the trauma team in 2011. And I've been there ever since. So a little bit later, around 2018, I got my doctorate and I taught nurse practitioner school as well. But yeah, I'm a part of the trauma team, love it. I work with a great team, see all kinds of crazy things, but that's what I do. So on the way to work, I'm probably the only person that has an idea of what I'm going to see from the news. When you hear about car accidents or shootings or stabbings, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's what I'm going to face today. That's what my day is going to look like. So
what is it specifically about trauma? Because there are so many different areas of healthcare, and it just seems like that would be the I hate to say the worst, but
there are many people that believe that, and I definitely can appreciate those sentiments. It is a difficult population. When you think about trauma, you think about yourself. Like, oh my gosh, what if I get in a car wreck or fall on the ice and break my hip, which does happen. And that is a portion of the population that's usually a smaller part. The majority is kind of the high-risk patients. And what makes you high-risk for trauma? Well, high-risk behavior. A lot of addiction, gang violence, bad decision-making, habitually not wearing a seatbelt, or, just lots of risk-taking behaviors. Nobody plans on being a trauma patient. So all of them are completely unexpected, not anticipating their life is in a various array of development depending on the person, but it's all walks of life, and not two injuries are the same, not two accidents are the same, and that's why I like it. It's always a puzzle, always have to figure it out, all different types of variables that keeps you on your toes. I've seen thousands of car wrecks. Never one has been the same. Lots of shootings and stabbings, all different. So just the variety is why I like it. The social challenges can be exhausting at times, but it's always interesting. Mm-hmm. So that's why I like it. It's always different, always unique. And you never know what you're going to get.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's so interesting. Mm-hmm. So this is your full-time job, mm-hmm. and so I want to talk a little bit about the journal that mm-hmm. you've written. So this is something that you were interested in because you love to write.
Yes.
And so just kind of walk us through how the journal came about.
Yeah, I've always toyed with the idea of being an author. I love the written language. I love the etymology of words. I just really like language. I love reading. As anybody that's been through nursing school can tell you, there's so much writing. So by default, you practice that skill, like it or not. But again, kind of a culmination of events made me think of this journal, this particular project. Obviously, my job, my career, I see people's lives change. In one instant, 1 second, one decision, instantly change. And the time is now. A lot of people will have plans or want to do something or, oh, we should get together. But then they get variables that keep them from it. Oh, it's too hot, too cold, snowy, icy, I'm busy, I'm tired, whatever. Well, the time is now. So to practice what I preach, the time is now. So my girlfriends and I make vision boards every year, and writing a novel, which I have many outlines started. I've got 10,000 words of a couple novels started. But then I just haven't completed those projects yet. Well, in January, put our vision boards together. And then in the summer, we kind of check in with our vision boards. And I was like, I have this idea to put this journal together. This is a book. I could do it. And of course, my girlfriends are so supportive. And I just started putting questions down of what I wanted to write. I had this idea because my husband and I passed love notes to each other when we were dating. And I was like, I would love to see other people get to know each other as well as my husband and I did when we were still dating. So that vision combined with one of the other nurse practitioners I work with, who's 11 years younger than me, even though we feel the same age, or at least I feel the same age as her. My husband and I call each other throughout the day, just little check-in, 3-minute phone calls. If I'm at the hospital, that means he got our children on the school bus. So one of us will call. How did the morning go? How are the girls? How are you? 3 minutes. And she said, you guys talk on the phone more than anybody I know. And I was like, well, how do you check in with your husband? Because she's married with kids as well. Snapchat or text. I was like, oh, I don't even have Snapchat. And texting is just so, it's not as meaningful. I can't hear the tone of his voice. If he texts me fine, that can mean a lot of things. Fine, whatever, or yeah, everything's great. So then I went back in time with her. I was like, when I started as a nurse, you couldn't even have your personal cell phone on you. You would be written up. And if my family wanted to get a hold of me, or my boyfriend at the time, they would call the main desk, speak to the secretary, be put on hold. I would come to the desk if I could, or call him back later and stand at the desk and have a conversation with him. And that's just what we know as our age, where she doesn't like to call. If she has trouble with a package, she only wants to use the automated chat. She doesn't want to call. So it's just interesting, in 11 years age difference, how much that has changed, that intrapersonal connection. Mm-hmm. And then COVID's made it worse, mm-hmm. not better, I feel like. I teach in P school, and I love to teach. I love having those moments where you can see it in your students' face, where they're like, oh, I get it, those aha moments. Well, now that everything's Zoom and online, you don't get those moments. So I went kind of from an educator to a greater critiquer. So that's been a harder change, and I wonder if I'm being as effective. That's why I wrote the journal, because I want people to go back in time, sort of, and really have meaningful, deep connections with each other that you can't get in text to each other or snaps to each other or Instagram reel sharing. It's just not as genuine as it used to be. My parents celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary 2 years ago. My husband's parents their 50th wedding anniversary is in June. I hope to have that marital success too, and I really hope that when my daughters, who knows what they'll face, they're 12, 9, and 6 right now, who knows what technology will look like with AI and everything else, I really hope that they are able to find meaningful connections with people. And even with the newer nurses, when they talk about dating with the dating apps, which I think that's, with every good comes a bad. I think that's amazing that there's so many ways to make connections with people you never would have even spoken to. And maybe that connection is going to be your person forever. But it also gives you this false sense of opportunity. It is normal and expected that your partner in life is going to irritate you, that they will have habits, moments that you don't like, but that doesn't mean quit. That doesn't mean quit. And I see that, the swiping, the left, the right, whatever, I don't know which direction, but I hope that we're not losing our sense of reality with this new technology, if that makes sense. That I want everybody to, at the end of the day, it's all about your relationships, which do have positives and negatives, but that bond that you share together is what matters.
I love that. Hi, everybody. I thought we'd take a short break so I can announce my next event on Friday, March 7th from 11:30 to 1 o'clock. I will be hosting my special guest in a live podcast event. Her name is Rachel Lambert, and she is the founder and CEO of Brain Code Centers. Our topic is looking to level up, maximize your brain's potential to propel you towards achieving the next level of success. With almost 2 decades of experience in brain mapping and neurofeedback, Rachel is uniquely equipped to offer specialized insight into brain optimization, brain health, and biohacking your brain. If you feel stuck, need to retrain your brain, or just want to optimize your brain's potential to level up in your life and career, please join this conversation. You can go to my website, sharingpassionandpurpose.com, and click the events tab, and please use code BRAIN for $5 off your ticket now through February 16th, and I look forward to seeing you then. Now back to the episode. So there's a couple things. I'm going to back up because you mentioned your daughters.
Yes.
So your daughters had a hand in the journal, and I would love to have you kind of share a little bit, because I think it's so neat that they were included.
They are. My 12-year-old, my husband is extremely artistic. He can paint, draw, sculpt. He's amazing. And my daughters all seem to have that gift as well. My oldest, she has been artistic forever and ever. So when I started putting this together, of course I've, Googling, and I'm with groups of how to do cover art. Do I pay someone to do my cover? And what programs do you use? And it was Canva that I used. And I asked, her name's Catherine. I was like, Catherine, have you ever heard of this? She's like, oh yeah, I know how to use it. I use it in school. And I was like, great, help me. Like, this is what I think. This is what I'm envisioning. Like, and I just kind of slid her my laptop, and in 30 minutes she had 5 prototypes and tweaked the final one. I was like, Catherine, this can be a career. Like, you could do this for people forever and ever. So that's been fun for her, because you hear artists, starving artists, but to really let her use her artistic ability for my book, and then show her, like, this is something you could actually turn into a career if you wanted. That's been fun. And then my middle daughter, she's 9, Rowan, she actually came up with some of the questions too, which is so fun just to have, the thoughts of a 9-year-old. And her question is, why do you like to be in a relationship with me? Which I was like, that is so simple yet meaningful, and I just love that she came up with that one. And then my 6-year-old Jameson, she's just my little cheerleader. She's the classic youngest, all eyes on her all the time. She's just nothing but fun and supportive in anything I do. So
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So if you'll give people an idea of who you're thinking the book would be good for. So is it older couples, younger couples, dating, married, what?
Any and all.
Okay.
Any and all. So I mentioned it briefly, but my husband and I, when we were still dating, he was in the Navy. This is before me. And when we were dating, he found this little military-issued notebook. And on the cover, it's called The Memorandum, and it goes into the dress top of a uniform blouse. So, and I can't remember who wrote the first one, but we just started writing notes to each other, little love notes, what we hope for the future, funny things that we've observed about life, and would hide that notebook around in his apartment or mine. And it was always such a thrill to find the notebook and then flip to your page, the newest page, and read what we wrote. And then you of course can go back and read old entries. But since we were hiding it from each other and we were busy going to school, we would forget whose turn it was. So that's where the title Your Turn came from, because it was be like, is it your turn? No, it's your turn. So just the passing back and forth. So that is literally the point of the journal, that there's all these prompts. I think there's 116 prompts, and it is everything. What's your favorite thing about my personality that you like? Or how can you tell I'm stressed, and what do you do to alleviate it? Or what's something you would change about today's political climate if you could? What would be a perfect vacation if we had a week and no budget? Just all of those things that you assume but when you actually see your partner write it down and hand it back to you, it really solidifies who they are and what they hope and dream for the future. So it's truly anybody that's dating, or a couple that's been together for a while that just wants to rejuvenate their relationship. There is no limit. There is no right or wrong. It's just a fun activity to do as a couple. And I was getting my haircut. This is just a funny story. I was getting my haircut at Or Salon. Thanks, Adam. And one of the other stylists was there, heard me telling Adam that I'm going to publish this book. Her name's Shannon. She got the book. She was my first purchase. And she wrote a great review, and she's getting married on Valentine's Day. And she's like, I credit the book completely. Not that this will, that's not the goal to hope that you get to an engagement. But it is so cool that my first buyer did get engaged. And she's like, I love it. We went through it so fast, because I was like, it'll probably take you guys a year to complete, back and forth. And there is no time. You set your time limit. You set your rules, whatever you want to do, because life is busy. But they finished it in a couple months, and they're getting married in a month. So that was so fun.
Neat.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can't imagine the conversations that come from the written part, because once you read it, maybe, you've been married or dating for a while, right. And it's like, then maybe over a date night, you could mention how surprised you were about whatever, and it kind of facilitates even a deeper conversation.
Exactly. And it's a safe place. There's no right or wrong answers. You can't, and it's not meant to be weaponized. This is your loved one's answer, and whatever the answer is their answer. So it may not equal an engagement ring. Maybe it equals a realization that you guys are in a cross path that is no longer compatible, and that's okay too. But because if you can't get to a deep, meaningful part, then, and that's what you're seeking, then okay, then that's a tool to get you there as well. Hopefully everyone finds it enjoyable and pleasurable and happy, but knowing that you're not with the right person is also beneficial too, and move on.
Yeah, I love that deeper connection, and maybe this would be something that could reignite romance.
Yeah,
for people, especially
even
who have
empty
been married.
nesters.
Yes.
Yeah, now that the kids are gone, what do you want the next phase of our life to look like? What should we do next? Did the busyness of life make you lose connection with your loved one? And that happens all the time, and it doesn't mean walk away. Just rekindle, come back, refocus. So. And when my boyfriend at the time, his name is Nick, when we did our premarital counseling through the church, our priest put us in separate rooms, and you do this like 150-point questionnaire of like, oh, how do you want to raise kids, or how do you want to manage finances, et cetera, et cetera. And he said, Father Matt said, if he hadn't separated us in rooms to take the quiz, he would have thought that we cheated, because our answers were so identical, because we talked about all the things. Yeah. We had the hard conversations and the not fun conversations, but it worked.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's incredible. Okay. So I might ask, you have mentioned that writing is on your heart, that you love to write. This is your first project, I believe, in a series of projects. But I'm just wondering, to speak to people maybe who have a project or a writing project on their heart, how did you overcome any struggles or doubts and actually get it out there? I know you self-published, but that's an accomplishment, a huge accomplishment in itself. So I was hoping maybe you could share a little bit.
Well, I am blessed with an amazing group of girlfriends, very supportive, and we cheer each other on in everything we do. And I know that they're great friends, because if we do something that we don't agree with, we tell each other. We have that level of honesty with each other. And of course, the biggest fear of putting something out there that's a creative work is the critiques, because everybody will have an opinion and they won't all be positive. And my friend Nicole Russell said, there will be critiques. It's coming. Oh, well, just do it. You know it's good, it made you happy, and who cares about the rest, basically. And I would encourage anybody else to take that great advice to heart, that there absolutely will be somebody negative for whatever reason. Maybe they feel like you stole their idea, or you beat them to the punch, or they just can't manage to find anything nice to say. That will be there, but it doesn't matter. So there's going to be more positive and more benefit than the few negatives. So let the negative be said, but who cares? Who's listening? Not us. So that's what I would say to anybody thinking about this. Just go for it. It's a project you want to do, then do it.
Okay, I love that. And I talk about, too, to people how important it is to surround yourself with the right people and, good friends who are going to support you, but be honest. And so it sounds like you definitely have that group, for sure.
Yeah. And my husband, too, he's so great. Anytime I have some idea, I do not lack any ideas, but I'll be like, oh, what do you think about this novel idea? Which is funny. It shows you how long we've been together. I had this novel idea years ago, and we were at Blockbuster, and it was like a B movie. I was like, oh my gosh, that's my book idea. Never mind. But anytime I was like, what do you think about this for a novel? Or what do you think about that to a novel? Always 100% of the time, his answer is write it, do it, go for it. So that's really special, and I appreciate that so much.
Yeah, that's awesome. He sounds amazing. Okay, so in wrapping up, my theme this year is Thrive in 2025. So I'm wondering what you do to thrive personally or professionally.
Okay.
How you thrive.
Well, I work out. I stay healthy. We have one body. And again, a benefit of seeing so many people in the hospital is health is so important. Stay healthy, stay strong. So that's always a goal. I practice Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at Strike Martial Arts Academy in Jinx. My whole family does it, actually. We're under Professor Logan Cunningham. So that's fun for physical and mental health. Anybody that wants to come try, you are welcome to be my guest, open invitation. But I think my word, part of our vision board, we always have a word, is going to be center or focus. We haven't decided, or we're making them this weekend. But I've strategized and had to-do lists and always going as far as working on my goals. Well, I've achieved some of my goals. I have the career I want, the family I want, the marriage I want. I've published a book. So now I need to just kind of savor the moment and live in this moment of, I've worked so hard for this. Enjoy, instead of on to the next thing, on to the next thing, on to the next thing. Don't get me wrong. I always have a to-do list. I love my to-do list. I love marking things off. But I don't want to task myself to death where I miss the good. My oldest is already 12. I got so sad when she started school thinking about, oh my gosh, in 4 more years, she's going to drive and go to, then comes college and then whatever else she makes of her life. I have so few years with my kids. I don't want to miss it working and tasking myself to death. So I really just want to, with my daily to-dos, enjoy the moment, live in the moment, and not always be planning the next thing. So that's how I plan on it. Keep staying physically healthy, but really, really enjoy the moment that I'm in right now. To savor it.
I love that. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for visiting with me. I appreciate it.
I'm so flattered to be here. Thank you.
Yes, this has been a great conversation, and I hope people pick up the journal and check it out. Okay.
Me too. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I appreciate you being here. And don't forget to connect with me on social media. Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn are at Sharing Passion and Purpose, and Twitter is at Passion Sharing. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time.